Well, hello there. Welcome to New River Trail State Park. This is the Discovery Center. My name is Mr. B, and I will be your tour guide today on our Learning Center area here. And we're going to go over a program today called Skins and Bones. So we're going to talk about all different types of animals. So we're going to go over some of the things behind me first, and I got some stuff on my table here, and also in my bag back here. And I will show you them all, and you'll guess what they are, and then we'll go from there. So, over here, this kind of scary looking critter, this is a cougar or a mountain lion. Now, there is evidence to suggest that we may have these in this area, depending on who you talk to. So, our cougars here have really excellent sense of sight. They also can weigh up to 100 to 200 pounds, thereabout. They rear their kittens, so just like you have a little kitty, they rear their kittens in dens, kind of like cave areas. And some people ask about their age. They can live anywhere from 12 to 18 years, thereabout. We notice here that it has a paw a lot bigger than your house cat, but it's got, the little claws will be in here. So you definitely gonna look at that and say, well, they use those to catch prey, potentially to climb trees, They are protected from being hunted and trapped in Virginia. They also, what do they eat? Well, they eat the deer. They eat generally about 1 deer per week. What they'll do is they'll actually drag it to an area, and then they'll sometimes put it in a tree to save it for later so that they'll be able to figure out where they are. So they're about 5 to 9 feet. Another thing I didn't go over here is you look over here, you see these teeth. So let's talk about what type of teeth they are. So we see these type of teeth in the mountain lion here. What kind of animal do you think that this is? Is it an herbivore, a carnivore, or an omnivore? Okay. If you don't know what those mean, that's also, is it a plant eater? Is it a meat eater? Or does it eat plants and animals? So if you said meat eater, also known as a carnivore, you're correct. So they eat meat. That's their thing. Things with really sharp teeth eat meat. All right, next, we're going to go over these guys behind me. This is two different types of squirrels you see here. Now, in this area, we call these guys mountain boomers, which is slang. A lot of people call them also red squirrels. So they're a lot bigger than those little gray squirrels that you might see around your house or things like that. These guys, they collect nuts and things, and they go and they hide them for the winter. They don't hibernate though. Most people think they do, but they actually don't. So they have that for the winter. Have a good sense of memory for the most part, and they have a really great sense of smell. How many teeth do they have? They have 22 teeth. Over here, we have my gray fox. So gray foxes are a lot smaller than their red fox counterparts. So we can see here our different types. We call it a gray fox because what do you think? That's right. It's kind of gray on its fur and also kind of on the top as well. You can also see that it does have a little bit of brown or maybe red, you could say, but we're going to mostly see that it has the gray. So that is a gray fox, and like I said, they're a lot smaller than your red fox. All right, now we're going to go over another creature. This creature right here, I bet some of you might know what it is. Is it A, alligator, B, bobcat, or C, white-tailed deer? If you said C, white-tailed deer, you're correct. So we have a lot of these white-tailed deer in our area. So sometimes when hunters are saying I have a 10-pointer, 12-pointer, whatever, what are they talking about? Some of you may already know this, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So this is an 8-point buck. White-tailed deer are really cool because what they do is, the females especially, when they're eating, there's an older female and she's always constantly looking around. Sometimes if you're in the woods, maybe you hear this, they'll go, almost sounds like an old man coughing, I think. And that's to alert the other deer, there's danger, we need to get out of this area. And we know that the white-tailed deer is called that because it has a white tail. So white-tailed deer, white tail. So it's supposed to confuse the enemy when that tail goes up and they go jumping through the forest. All right. Those are the things that I have on this side of the room. So now I'm going to take you around the rest of the room so that you can see it. Because again, we're on a virtual field trip. So let's see what else in the room. All right, on this side of the room, we have a couple of animals. Up here, we have a turkey. So this is a male turkey. We know that because we see that there is the hair sticking out of the center of the chest, and that little turkey beard denotes a male. Also, we know it's a male because it's a lot bigger, has a bigger kind of display on its tail. All right, also in the corner we have a coyote. Some people think it's a dog, but it's actually a coyote. So coyotes didn't used to be very common in this area, but now they're coming back. They're becoming very common to the point where some people consider them a nuisance. Farmers, for instance. Coyote poop, what does it look like? Basically a bunch of fur that's in the shape of normal animal feces. So, what's the difference between a coyote and a wolf? Well, the coyote is going to be a lot smaller. People think we have wolves in this area. Wolves in this area were actually hunted out a long time ago, and so we don't really have those anymore. So right now, the only thing you'll see is probably coyote. Now sometimes people say there's a big coyote, almost looks like a dog. Now occasionally coyotes can have babies with dogs, and the dogs will make the coyote bigger, but generally it's going to be a smaller size. So that's our coyote. All right, over here, so this is a white-tailed deer. So this has actually been hung so that it can dry, because back in the old days, the Native Americans used to make hide, and they would make hide from deer skin. So after you'd stretch it out, after a few days, then you would scrape off the fur, and then it would be ready for it to be tanned. So how would Native Americans tan? They would tan with actually the brain of the animal. The common logic is that the size of the brain basically will tan the animal. So if you have a deer brain, the deer brain can be used to help tan the animal. Same thing with the bear, because the brain's got a lot of different greases and juices, and they were able to use that to tan. All right, there's one more animal on this side that we've not gone over yet. Now, right beside my eastern cougar, some people call them mountain lions. Here we call them eastern cougars. Down here, reaching up, we have our bobcat. It looks like a giant kitty, but if you ever come across one of these in the wild, do not touch it, because kitty has really long claws. Plus, chances are they would run away from you if you approached them anyway. According to my brother-in-law, who used to be a trapper, a bobcat, a fully grown bobcat, can take down a 300-pound man. So I'm about 300 pounds, so this guy could take down me if he needed to or wanted to. But again, these guys, they're going to stay away from you, you're going to stay away from them, so there's not going to be an issue at all. Now let's move to the other side of the room, and there's some really cool stuff I'll show you. So up here where the fan is, you see a black bear cub. All right, and beside that you see a head and also another deer. They're both kind of the same color. Now these aren't considered to be white-tailed deer. They are a type of white-tailed deer, but they're not albino. Albino means completely white. So if you see something that's completely white, whether it be a mouse or anything else, that's going to be albino. If you look, these aren't albino. These actually have a little bit of tan on them and then white. These are called pieball deer. So a pieball deer is pretty much like a white-tailed deer, but it's a special type of white-tailed deer. And so these kind of deer, most of the time, hunters will not shoot. Some hunters consider it bad luck to shoot a pieball deer, that you'll never shoot another deer in your life. And also, a lot of them want to preserve the pieball deer because it's so rare. If you look very carefully up here on the jaw, it's a little bit longer on the bottom part than it is on the top part. So their mouth kind of pooches out a little bit. The white-tailed deer doesn't really have that. That's specific for a piebald deer. Now, over here in this corner is some really cool stuff. So this is called skins and bones, so here comes your bone part. So I have all these different types of bones here. So here is what kind of skeleton? White-tailed deer. We also see, if we just kind of look a little closer, the teeth are a little different. So we looked at our teeth on our cat, but this is a little different. These aren't sharp. These are kind of square looking. So does this eat plants? Does this eat animals? Or does this eat both? If you said plants, you're correct. This is an herbivore or a plant eater. When they get the grass, they chew it and they grind it in these square looking teeth. Basically, it's a bunch of molars. If you take your finger right now, if it's clean, take your finger right now and put it in the back of your mouth. You see in the back of your mouth? Those are your molars. The molars are in the back of your mouth, okay? So this guy has molars all around his mouth, okay? So we have teeth in the front that are different from the teeth in the back. So we're a different type of animal. We have just molars. Anytime you see just molars, like in the back of your mouth, that means you're dealing with a plant eater or herbivore. Now, this skull is not a real skull, but it's based off of a real skull. This is called not a mouse skull. It is a type of rodent though. This is a beaver. This is a beaver skull. So you have these teeth in the front. They have that little orange on them. And then you have these kind of teeth down here. You see them? They look almost like your molar, like in the back of your mouth. So does it eat plants or does it eat animals? Plants primarily. So these kind of teeth here that you see in the front, these will continue to grow. So they have to constantly use these teeth so they don't keep growing and keep growing and keep growing. It's yellow because just like we have hard teeth, we have something on our teeth called an enamel. Now, a beaver has a really high deposit of iron on its teeth, and that allows its teeth to stay protected, kind of like ours has enamel. Okay? So these are also known as nature's chainsaws, because what do beavers do? They cut down trees. So beavers cannot stand the sound of running water. If there's water that's running, they have to build a dam. It's like when you feel it, you got to go to the bathroom, just like that. They have to build when they hear that water sound. So farmers really don't like these, because when a farmer has land where he wants to put more water on it to irrigate it, and beavers are in the area, beavers are going to dam up what he's trying to grow. We've talked about some plant eaters. We've talked about some meat eaters. So we're going to talk about something else. Anybody know what this is? This is not a coyote skull. This is actually a fox. So this is a fox skull. So we see really sharp teeth. So these are teeth of a carnivore, an animal that eats meat. So we can kind of see how it works. So we teeth in the front, grabs the meat, shreds it to the back, right? So we're talking about a meat eater here. So this is a fox skull. All right, here's another one very similar to our beaver. This one. Not a baby beaver. This one is actually a real skull. So this one, you can tell it's a fake skull because it's yellow, whereas the real skulls are more white. So this is a real skull. This isn't a baby beaver. It's actually a gray squirrel. So those little gray squirrels that you see on your trees this time of year especially, this is what its skull actually looks like. So again, we can see really well the orange in the front. So they have to constantly be chewing, and you see them chewing the nuts or acorns all the time, you know? So here is our gray squirrel, and we can look at its teeth very carefully. And what kind of teeth does it have? It has molars, molar teeth. So, plant or animal eater. Plant eater, eats acorns. This is another replica skull, which means it's made in China. All right, so this is a type of bird of prey. Bird of prey meaning it eats prey. So this is a barred owl, not barn, B-A-R-N. This is B-A-R-R-E-D, barred owl. So barred owls are a little bit bigger than the owls you normally hear this time of year, sometimes like really late at night. When you hear so they screech when they get angry, but this is a barred owl. These are bigger. These say, woo, 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 woo. And if you do that sometimes, if you hear them at night, they'll actually answer back. So we say, these say, who cooks for you? And then sometimes they will answer back, who cooks for you? So do we have these around here? Yes, we do. Now, they normally are in old growth forests, which means trees that have not been cut down pretty much at all. So we're talking really tall trees here. So they love old growth forests. So if you're really quiet at night, you might hear either an eastern screech owl or a barred owl. They only live within a 6-mile radius their entire life. But we can look really carefully and we can see they have these really cool eye sockets. So these eye sockets are different than ours. And people say they can turn 360 degrees around. Not quite. They actually can only go 280 degrees around because they can't go 360 because that would hurt them. All right, so you see these really cool eye sockets. So their eyes are a little different from ours. They're more like little holes or little tubes. So do something with me really quick, okay? Do this with your eyes. Kind of roll them around a little bit, back and forth. Owls cannot do that. We can, but they can't. Now they can blink, but they can't move their eyes. So like if somebody on the other side of your classroom like drops a pencil, you can look and see what happened. Owls cannot do that. They only can look straight ahead. So the reason they can turn their heads 260 degrees is because they cannot move their eyes like we can. Another cool thing that most people don't know is they not only can move their head like this, they can also move it like that. This one is my absolute all-time favorite. So this one is made in China because it has that kind of yellowy color. So this is a alien skull. No, okay. This is a black bear skull or a replica of a black bear skull. So it looks really scary because they have these big teeth in the front. But let's look, okay? What do you see in the back? You see the molars like in the back of your mouth, right? So you see these molars in the back. So they have molars in the back and they have teeth in the front that look very similar to our carnivore, our meat eater. So we have both the molar teeth and the sharp teeth. So that's something else. So we have something else entirely. So if we were to take our carnivore, and if we were to take our herbivore, see the square teeth, and we were to put them together, what would we have? Anybody know? An animal that eats both plant and animals. It's a big word. It's called omnivore. So omnivores have both plant molars and also sharper teeth. So this is a omnivore. People think that bears eat meat. They do not eat meat primarily. They love berries. Berries are their most absolute favorite food. Termites too. So you like Skittles and M&Ms and other kind of candy. A termite is candy for bears, basically. So if it's termite Skittles, if you want to say. So bears love berries. They love termites. And sometimes they'll even eat some types of funguses. We have our omnivore. So we have our sharp teeth in the front and our molars in the back. These aren't to suck your blood. Oh, no, it's not a vampire. It's actually to dig. So these are like big shovels on the front of its teeth. So here is a real skull of a black bear. So again, it's white, so we know it's real. So the teeth have seen better days, but these are in the front there, and those, they kind of shovel, and they can break up tree roots and limbs and everything else to get to those yummy termites and everything else that might be in the ground. So this is actually a California black bear. But we do have these black bears around here. We do not have grizzly bears. What can we say about the black bear? We have something very big in the front, and we also have these two. What does it hunt primarily by? It hunts primarily by its nose. So it can smell something like an apple that's fallen from a tree from like 2 miles away. They have a very good sense of smell. Here is a great example of a plant eater. Look at those big molars. You thought your teeth were small or big? Look at those. That is a plant eater. That's the best example of a plant eater, an herbivore tooth that I can think of. This is a moo cow. Okay, this will be our last bone for now. Okay, this is something scary. This is actually a wild pig. A wild boar is what they're called. So again, we see molars and we see sharp teeth. So we have an omnivore. What are we? We are omnivores because we can eat both plant and meat. So if you let your pig out and it goes wild, they will grow tusks. So these are the tusks in the front and the tusks at the top. So I think it was kind of cool because, you know, there was some person at some point that said, you know what, that scary thing over there, I'm gonna go tame it and I'm gonna call it a pig. So I think that's pretty cool. But anyway, so again, we have an omnivore here. So thank you for joining me this week as we explore Foster Falls in the Discovery Center. Behind me is the New River and the rapids on this part of the river. You can go down these in the summer. I don't recommend it this time of year though. It'd be kind of rocky. So until next time, this is Mr. B tracking in Virginia State Parks. See ya.